Good evening, good evening. It is now 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 23rd. I'd like to call the Administration and Finance Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Brenham. McBride. Here. Livingston.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Mackey here.
Mackey.
Next item is approval of minutes from April 25th, 2023.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the minutes.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk?
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions from staff?
No recommended changes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk?
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. The first item under items for action 4A is the Office of Procurement and Contracting Countywide Contract Award for RC-568-P-23. Administrator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you. On page 8, the number you just read, that request for proposal included printing, mailing, and postal services. It was issued on March the 2nd, 2023. We received 2 responses. We went through the evaluation process, and at staff's recommendation, we recommend that this committee forward to full council the award of a contract to the sourcing group for Richland County's printing and mailing certain postal services. The sourcing group was the provider that was selected, and as you see there in the listing, we are asking for them to do quite a bit of the county's mailing services, and we're asking for the committee to go ahead and approve that so that we can put this into effect. And then the funding for this is already encumbered for 2023. And again, and to the next process, we'll encumber funds at that appropriate time. So the request is for approval.
Any questions? Mr. Weaver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, so who has this contract now? Am I missing that?
So the process for who has this contract, I'll ask the procurement director to answer that question so she can provide the details. I believe she's in the audience. She is.
Okay.
So she can provide that for you. Ms. Ladishkin? Madam Chair, if you.
Thank you. You're recognized, Ms. Logician. Your mic on?
Good afternoon, Jennifer Ladishkin, Procurement Director. Currently, the sourcing group holds the contract now.
Okay, so it's sticking with the same vendor?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Entertain a motion?
Move to adopt the administrative recommendation, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item is 4B, Utilities Transfer of Deeds, Arthurtown, Little Camden, Taylor's Sanitary Sewer. Administrator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 10 of the packet, Richland County Utilities recommends approval of the transfer of deeds of sanitary sewer lines to the City of Columbia as described in the attached deed to sanitary sewer lines for Arthurtown, Little Camden, and Taylor Sanitary Sewer System, Phase 1. And if you look under strategic and generative, I won't go into all the details, but actually this was an action that came before the body in the past. And actually went through all of the approval processes, but somewhere in between the city and the county, the transfer never happened. The City of Columbia is actually already providing the services, and so this, again, does not in any shape, form, or fashion change what's happening now. It's just that the process wasn't completed. And because we're unable to really track down why that didn't happen, we just want to go through the process of being, again, clear and now to get this done. So that's why we're coming to you with this request.
Thank you, Administrator Brown. Any comments from the committee or questions? Need a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion, any second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Just one quick question. Now, we don't have any.
You recognize Mr.
Customers in
Livingston?
that area, do we?
We're not, they're being taken care of already, Mr. Livingston. Yes, sir.
All right, and call the roll for the vote, please. Sorry.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item is 4C, utilities exceeding purchase order limits. Administrator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this item is coming before you exactly because of the way it's listed. So what you have now is you have a service that the county has routinely received, but that has not risen to a level above the $100,000 threshold. So as a result of that, county council hasn't had to take additional action. You may recall as the administrator that I have a threshold that does not exceed $100,000 without coming to council. And so these prices now for these services that we are asking to be procured are now rising to a level where they will exceed the $100,000 threshold. As a result of that, it will require council approval. So that is why we're coming to you asking for your approval at this point. These are services, again, that we are already been using that are needed, but the difference is now they exceed the threshold that requires us to come to council. So staff is recommending approval so that we can move forward to continue with these services with the approval by council.
Questions from the committee? Councilman Weaver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Brown, is it because of just inflation, or are we just adding more customers we need?
It costs more.
It's just cost, so it's just an
Yes,
inflation
sir.
thing. Do we need to revise the ordinance to give you authority above 100, or?
Mr. Weaver, I like the way you're thinking, but right now is not the time.
Okay, so we're not doing that tonight. I'm just saying, for future discussion,
For future
maybe we can talk
discussions,
about
it's
that.
something that we can consider.
Okay.
But right now, we are asking for council to, this committee to approve us to
Okay.
take this to council.
Mr. McBride, you're recognized.
But I follow your directions.
Thank you. I think it'd make it cleaner.
Okay.
That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You. Their motion?
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion
Second.
for approval, second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item, 4D, Department of Public Works Solid Waste and Recycling Division Collection Area 5B Contract Renewal. Administrator Brown?
And Madam Chair, I don't know whether or not you want to keep these items separate, but this item, the next item are the same provider, the same staff recommendation. This particular provider has provided a good quality service, has been consistent in the quality of service, and our staff's recommendation is going to be for the renewal of the Collections Area 5B to the current provider, which is Johnson's Garbage Service. And so that is staff's recommendation for this item and will be also the same for the next item.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Councilman Weaver, and then Councilman Livingston, Councilman McBride.
Mr. Brown, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, so what kind of increase in the contract were they seeking? Do we know that here, or is it listed somewhere? I can't see it.
Yeah, I don't think this was necessarily seeking a new amount in the contract. This particular item, and we do have solid waste services here to provide more details. This is more in line with continuing with the service as provided, more so than seeking anything new. It's not them seeking anything new.
We're just extending the date of their contract.
We're hoping to.
We're hoping to.
We're hoping to renew with this particular provider.
Okay, thank you.
They were one of the providers that met all the expectations throughout all the challenges that we had. And again, I can have the other staff speak to that works with these providers directly, but this is one of the providers where we had a high level of customer service throughout the entirety of all of our other concerns.
Okay, that's sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Livingston?
I'd like to move for approval of items D and E.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
second for discussion, and then I want to recognize Mr. McBride, who had a comment beforehand.
I just wanted to make sure that this items D, E, and F are for the provider, Mr. Johnson. Are they different providers?
Just D and E, and D and E are
Okay.
for Johnson Garbage Services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. We're, had a motion and second, now we're in discussion. And just for clarification, can you just highlight where is Area 5B and where is Area 7?
Perfect. And now I'm going to have the team step down.
Public Works Director Maloney can address that. And we have General Manager Ansel for anything I can't answer. Area 5B is in the edge of the city of Columbia, very much close to the downtown and the unincorporated areas. It has a lot of the donut holes and areas in there. So it is it's our smallest area, like around 1,200 customers. And then Area 7, around 9,000 customers, is Lower Richland, mostly in Councilmember English's district. And that's an area, because of their high performance last summer, we expanded and moved some of Area 6 into Area 7 and moved that up to Air Base Road, which put some of Johnson's garbage service collection area into Miss Newton's district as well.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? Just to clarify, the motion right now is for approval of 4D and E, and we had a second. All right. Madam Clerk, would you call the vote?
McBride,
Yes?
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is 4F, Department of Public Works Solid Waste and Recycling Division Ballantyne Property Purchase. And this appears that we need to go in executive session, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there anything, Attorney Wright, you'd like to say prior to us going in executive session?
No, ma'am.
Are we going to executive session to receive
for
legal
exec-
advice, or are we going to executive
Well,
session to discuss?
yeah, that's all right.
Somebody just give a little bit more
Yes,
clarification.
it
while we
would
go
be
into executive
to receive legal advice pursuant to, I think it's 30-7-40A2.
Thank you.
But said by the attorney.
Is that a motion to go in executive
I
session
move
to
to go into
discuss?
executive session.
To discuss item 4F. I have a motion
I move.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We are now in executive session. out of executive session. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll for the vote?
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. We went into executive session to discuss, item 4F, Department of Public Works Solid Waste and Recycling Division Valentine property purchase. No action was taken in executive session. Mr. Livingston, you recognize?
Chair, I move that we instruct the administrator to move forward, reference Valentine purchase property negotiations as discussed in executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, Mr. Brown, is there any other items that you have?
No other items, Madam Chair.
All right. Committee members, anything else? All right, well, we are at number 5.
Move to adjourn.
A motion,
Second.
second. All right.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Madam Chair?